Someone You Should Know. A program about people you know and even more that you don't. Hosted by Stuart Sachs, veteran, husband, father, and grandfather. Now, here's your host, Stuart Sachs.
Well, hello again, and welcome to another edition of Someone You Should Know. Glad to have you with us again. We're going to have a great show today, and it is brought to you in part by Irving Chung, who is a franchise consultant and a very, very good friend. If you've ever had the thought of being your own boss and maybe having a franchise, before you jump into anything, call Irving. The phone number is on the screen. You can go to his website, bigconsideration.com. Check it out because he's got all the answers to let you know if franchising might be a good way for you to be your own boss. Well, I'm real thrilled because somebody who is really her own boss right now is my guest on the show, and I'd like to welcome Noel Benoson to the show. Noel, welcome.
Hi, Stuart. Thank you.
Glad to have you with me. You have got an interesting background, which we will talk about. But when the pandemic hit, you decided, you know what, I got to do something with my spare time here. And so you wrote a really, really interesting book, and it's all about dating. And the title of the book is "What Men Don't Know About Dating Is a Lot."
That is the title of the book. But let me specify, it's precisely about online dating because, of course, during the pandemic, that was what was happening.
And obviously, the first thing that pops into my mind is for almost a year and a half, online dating was, you didn't really have to get dressed up for it, did you?
Well, from the waist up, just like work, right?
Yeah, just put on a pretty face, and a nice blouse, and you could be wearing nothing or your pajamas from the waist down.
Yeah,
but
depending on how comfortable you were.
Yeah, and how did that play into the information that you used for your book? Because you started doing that online dating, and you just found, did you find that it was less comfortable than face-to-face dating was before the pandemic?
I'm an old pro. I've been online dating since about 2012. So online dating wasn't new to me. One of the newer aspects of online dating during pandemic was many online dating websites created a video option so you could video chat with people. That was the only difference I saw. But yeah, no, I've been online dating for quite some time. And because I found that people misrepresent so much, and during pandemic, I had time for a side hustle. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this. This is finally the right time because let's face it, you weren't going out partying. You weren't going out on dates. I mean, I don't know about your part of the country, but up here in the Northeast, I mean, we were locked down, we were shut down, plus it was winter. I mean, and a lot of people, unfortunately, were passing away. We took it tough up here in the Northeast.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And you are actually located in between Philadelphia and Wilmington, Delaware.
I am.
That area of the country. So
beautiful Chester County, Pennsylvania, about 30 miles southwest of Philly.
Oh, Philly.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like the area?
Yeah, my mom's family is from here. My roots I live in a small community called Kennett Square, Pennsylvania. And my family roots date back here to the turn of the century, the early 1900s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I know it's a pretty part of the country, the especially in the fall when the trees change colors and everything. It's a beautiful part of the country.
It is.
So,
it's a big equestrian area. So whether autumn leaves or spring or summer, when there's horses and countryside, it's beautiful.
So when you got into I guess for a better phrase, the dating game, the virtual dating game, initially if I remember, it started out with like eHarmony and Match.com or something. Those were some of the early websites, and people would post. They would post photos and they would post information about themselves, and then you were supposed to interact with them. Then over the next so many years, we started to get into, as you said, the video, the more virtual. How did you see things change for the representation of men and women that were going on those sites?
Well, I have to say, when I first started online dating, there wasn't the video chat capability. I gotta say, I think there's pretty much a lack of authenticity since I started. I'm not gonna lie. I'm just trying to be real.
No, and I think that a lot of people would agree. You know, if whoever is posting, there's a tendency to maybe do a little bit of photoshopping, maybe just do a little bit of enhancing to make you look a little more than maybe what you are realistically.
Well,
is that fair to say?
No, it's not. I'd go as far to say they don't bother photoshopping. They just use photos from 10, 15, 20 years ago, or only from the chest up photos, just, or the best. And of course, who's not going to use their best photo? I mean, you want to use your best photo.
Right.
So of course, using the best photo, I'm not going to cut on that. Of course, you're going to use the best photo, but the misrepresentation with the photos comes with photos that are outdated. Now, listen, I know that men are not the only ones who do this. I have a guy buddy who was supposed to meet a woman at a restaurant, and he was sitting in the bar section of the restaurant, very nice restaurant, national chain, upscale, and he's a very nice guy. And he got a text. He walked in, he sat down at the bar. The agreement was between these two people that they were going to meet in the bar area and have a drink, maybe some apps at the bar. If they hit it off, the date would continue. If not, it was over. So he was actually telling us this story on the beach one Sunday because he was irritated in a big way. So he went to the bar. He went into the bar area. He sat down. He gets a text. The woman says, "I'm here." He's looking around the bar. He doesn't see her. The next thing he knows, what he described as a short, overweight brunette was standing next to him. And she said hi to him. And he was like, "Hi, who are you?" And she said, "I'm so-and-so." Well, apparently she had used a photo of a girlfriend of hers that was blonde and beautiful. I mean, that's total misrepresentation. That is, talk about bait and switch. That is so not fair. That's not a level playing field. So I know women do it too, right? But thank God he was so mad that he got up and left. There was no date. And he was telling this story on the beach one day. We were laughing. We were rolling in the sand with laughter. And I think it made him feel better to vent and that we were laughing because he was really mad initially.
Yeah, and I can certainly understand more so for men that they might put in a picture, as you say, maybe 10 years earlier, they had a little more hair on their head, and now they're growing a little more of a forehead. And so in real, so I guess the thing that pops in my head right away is because of that misrepresentation, they always say that, your first impression is the strongest. So you saw this person and they were wearing this nice suit and all from, like you said, chest up, what we call in the business a headshot.
Right, of course.
And, they looked nice, had a nice pair of glasses, their hair was, and then all of a sudden you're looking at this person in person or on the screen and, the bad hair day, and they're wearing a T-shirt that probably needed to be washed 3 weeks earlier. That impression all of a sudden just says, whoa, time out, I'm out of here.
Right. Well, I used to be really polite. I used to go on dates and I used to use my food and my glasses, my drinking glasses, not my eyeglasses, my food my silverware, my drinking. I used to use all my utensils as like props to try to hide behind because I was so taken aback at the lack of authenticity. And I was like, what the hell? And I mean, or I'd excuse myself to the bathroom and be in there for like 10 minutes because I was talking on my cell phone to my girlfriends. I've already had waitresses who were young enough to be my daughter come into the bathroom while I'm pacing like a caged tiger back and forth, wringing my hands going, oh my God, what am I going to do?
How do I get out of this?
Well, I've already had waitresses, like I said, young enough to be my daughter come in and they're like, okay, so we've been watching you and your date and we can tell you're on a first date and that we can tell you never met before. The back exit is that way. But I have to say, I never did anything like that. I never walked out on a date. That's rude, right? So, and I called my girlfriends from the bathroom many times and said, this isn't going to work. Where are you? I'm going to get out of this date. And they would be laughing. They would be laughing. They're like, oh, no. I'd be like, don't laugh at me. It's not funny. Because I was really being authentic on my profile. And I was really preparing. I was checking their profile before I went on the date so that I knew their interests so we could have something to discuss. I was really doing what I say in my book, PCE. I was preparing, I was caring, and I was making an effort. That's an acronym that I came up with, and it's in my book, PCE. So I really felt like I was making an effort. Plus, I take good care of myself, right? I don't misrepresent. I am who I am, okay? I'm not going to put on any airs, but I try hard. And it's really deflating to go out on a date. First of all, it's deflating to tell your girlfriends, no, I'm not going to go with you guys tonight because I'm going to go out on a date. You could have more fun with your friends, number one. Number two, you go out on the date and you're putting, your best possible you out there. And some guy shows up and it does look like the guy, but he's, 25, 35 pounds heavier than he is in the photos. He's just not ready to date because all he wants to do is talk about his horrible ex-wife, all these things that just don't make for a happy date.
Yeah, I think, and you mentioned that if the conversation really revolves around the past, what representation is there that there's going to be a happy, present and a possible future?
There are so many things to discuss. And if you're really ready to date, if you've done your shadow work, which is looking inside yourself and getting are we allowed to curse on here?
You what?
Am I allowed to curse? Am I allowed to say shit?
Absolutely. You can say whatever you want.
Cool. If you have your shit together, you've done the work from the inside out, and you're really ready to date, there's so many interesting things to talk about. And you can start by knowing someone's profile information, using that as an icebreaker. And you never know how it's going to, segue where the conversation can go. But yeah, no, if someone's lamenting about the past and past relationships, yep, they're just not ready to date, right?
Yeah, and the more that you mentioned that a couple of times and reference to that, and it does make an awful lot of sense that if you are still spending a lot of time thinking about the past, what you did right maybe and what your mate did wrong or whatever, you're not ready to cut the cord. You're not ready to start all over.
Because you haven't, if the relationship was important, you have to mourn that loss and you have to heal, just like if you would lose someone to death. And then you have to heal and become your own person again, right? And be who you are so you can present an effort who you really want to present, who you really are authentically and what you have to offer. Also, on the other hand, there's guys on dating websites who do show up looking like their photos, but they're not really interested in dating. They're just looking to hook up. So for those guys, I say go on hookup dating websites. There's plenty of hookup dating websites out there. And if that's all you want, then that's great. I mean, I don't have any problem with that. Know your intention. And that's a chapter in my book as well. Know your intention. What do you want to do?
And you can express those intentions prior to going on the date too. In your interaction, if you're trying to get together virtually, you could talk a little bit about that before you make that step. During the pandemic, of course, you couldn't, because all the dating basically was virtually and online. He'd have a glass of wine in his hand, you'd have a glass of wine in your hand, and you were kind of on this virtual date. But before and now that it's opening up again, it's going to be a little bit of a different story. And
I agree, but not everything was 100% shut down, 100% of pandemic. There were, even up here in the Northeast area of the United States, where things were a lot more severe regarding the pandemic than, say, other areas of the United States. Restaurants did open, but 25, 35% capacity and things like that.
Or if they had outdoor dining, you could do that.
And even at a certain percentage. But you could still go on dates. You could go out and have a date with someone. So, so it wasn't just the online. It was just, pandemic definitely put, so to speak, a fly in the ointment, right? Yeah. But really, it's just, it doesn't really matter if it's during pandemic, post-pandemic. There's online or offline. There's a lack of authenticity in dating, and that needs to be removed because if you're not authentic and if you're not ready to date, you shouldn't be out there, right? You should not be out there if you're living with another woman. I've had dates with men, or I shouldn't say that. I've started talking to men and then gotten to the point where we met on a dating website, and then I felt comfortable enough to exchange my phone number. So we're texting. Then, of course, a phone call. And I've already said, okay, so where do you want to meet? And then they start saying well, I don't really live alone. I'm like, pardon me? Right. And then they're like, well, I live with a woman. I'm like, so she's your roommate? And well, we're supposed to be boyfriend and girlfriend, but we haven't been intimate for 5 years. But we
friends with benefits.
Well, no, I guess they started out romantically, but the passion faded. So now they're like, I hate to say this, but like an old married couple who has let the passion expire, right? So now they're just cohabitating. So men like that are on dating websites too. No. If you're not single, if you don't live alone, I guess you could live with your adult children or something, but if you're in a situation with a woman, you shouldn't be on a dating website. That's a no-brainer.
Like we said earlier, you have not cut that cord. You have not put yourself in a position of saying, okay, I'm ready.
100%. Yeah. Many men have cut the cord and they're on dating websites, but because they've maybe cohabitated with someone a little too long, they haven't done work from the inside out. And my book also addresses that. When was the last time they went shopping? Was it in this millennium? And where did they go shopping? Was it Walmart? Because that doesn't count. That's not acceptable. You have to really step up and make a decision. I have a chapter in my book called Pregame, and it's about setting your intentions. If you're really thinking about dating, before you even get online to make a profile, take a good hard look at yourself in the mirror. What do you need to do? Do you need to lose a couple pounds? Do you need to whiten your teeth? Do you need new glasses that are, again, in this millennium, preferably this year? Do you have a relevant haircut, or do you have like old dude hair? I mean, really look at yourself. And if you don't think you can critique yourself fairly, talk to your female friends. If you don't have any female friends, talk to your guy buddies. If they can't provide input, watch TV, watch movies, get cues from the way people are dressing on TV. Get cues, go online and look at magazines like GQ online, or go to the store and bookstore and buy a GQ. See what's going on. Create a more relevant current look so that you can present the best possible you while you're working on the outside, while you're whitening your teeth and getting new glasses and getting a current haircut. What about working on the inside of you too, right? Do you need to heal? Do you have baggage that you're carrying from a past relationship that maybe you shouldn't? By all means, while you're at that bookstore getting that GQ magazine, maybe purchase my book right here. What Men Don't Know About Dating Is a Lot. It's an easy, quick read. And I was recently featured in an article in the Chester County Press, and I loved the reporter, Richard Gall, said that my advice is the low-hanging fruit of advice, because I'm telling guys to like whiten their teeth, go shopping. But you would be surprised. I mean, I have put my best face on and taken time to present the best possible me I can to go on a date where a guy looks like he just came off of a construction site. And I'm like, what the hell? Why did I spend, I've gone on dates same way, primped and really took the time to look cute. And the guy showed up in a suit that I think he bought in maybe the 80s.
Yeah, he took it out of the back of the closet and all, and just dusted off the shoulders.
Yeah. Good thing he still fit in it, right? And plus, I mean, that guy who showed up in the suit that was from many decades in the past, he showed up for a happy hour date at the beach, and I knew it was him immediately. And that guy had made me jump through so many hoops on online dating sites to prove that I was number one, who I said I was. And I'm 100% real. You can check me out every which way you can. You're not going to find anything. I am who I am. I'm not a perfect person. I don't claim to be a perfect person, but at least I'm real. And if you ask me a question, I'll give you a real answer, right? But he showed up at the beach wearing a suit. Everybody else in the restaurant was in like flip-flops, or like me, I had like little high heel sandals on, cute shorts, cute top. He was in a suit. He had shoes and socks on.
You're not blending in.
I don't. Oh. Yeah, that was not good.
I also want to take just a moment, because a mutual friend of ours, Mike Miller, is watching in, and we want to welcome him to the show. So, hey, Mike, thanks for joining us. There it is.
I want to say thank you to Mike Miller, because we are friends on Facebook through a mutual friend of ours, Carol Barnett. She's a PhD, and she was the former chair of humanities at Jacksonville University. And I friended Mike within the last year, I'd say. So Mike and I have to say, are Facebook friends, but we've never truly met. But when he saw I wrote this book and I published it, he reached out to me and he's the conduit. So I can't thank him enough. Thank you. Yep. Mike Miller.
And that's what he said. He said, now this lady has taken the time to write this book, and I think it's something that you'd love to talk about, and I am enjoying talking about this.
Well, now, good. I'm glad.
I want to go back to a little bit to your history. You've got a background in marketing, and you have done a lot of marketing and communications. Do you think that career background and everything has put you in the right place in order to analyze and to put together a book like this?
No. I think I'm a subject matter expert because honestly, I was divorced in 2005, but I didn't really start full on dating because I was in a very serious relationship after my divorce, and that lasted the best part of 10 years. So I didn't really become fully engulfed in the dating culture until about 2012, but it's 2021 now, so that's plenty of time to be a subject matter expert.
Right. Well, and as you said, you had to kind of clean up your act, and you had to cut that cord, and you had to have a level playing field in order to get out and to start dating the way you felt it should be done. I'm
going to tell you the truth. I'm not exactly.
Ooh, you're going to tell the truth on my show?
Yeah, I'm not exactly proud of this, but my divorce didn't break me up, didn't tear me up. I was over that. It was a second relationship that I was in, and I was engaged for a long time. And when that ended, I was destroyed. And I wasn't ready to date, but my girlfriends, oh my God bless them. They're so great. I don't know where I would be without my girlfriends. You know, they were keeping me busy and making sure that I wasn't swinging from the end of a rope. A few of them said, the best way to get over a man is to get under one. So there was that. I'm just going to say, there was that phase. That's a Betty White quote, right? So, and again, like I said earlier in this program, if that's your intention, just to hook up, that's fine. I'm not going to judge you. Get on a hookup dating website and do that, right? But that was all part of my healing. And I have to tell you, on Facebook back then, everyone kept saying, I would say, oh, I have another date tonight. I have another date tonight. I have another date. And everyone kept saying, Noel, you are still too injured from your previous relationship. You're not ready to date. And they were 100% right. But that was my journey. That is how I navigated my healing landscape. And so I did, and I healed. And was that the best way to heal? No, probably not, but that's how I did it. So it is what it is, right? And now it's years later, but yeah, now I'm just independent, and I know what I want. I know what I don't want. And I've been independent and healthy from the inside and out for a long time, at least 5 years, right? So, or longer. So I'm in a good space. I'm a really good head space where dating, I know, like I said, I know what I want. I know what I don't want. I know how to present, and I know not what to say right out of the gate, right? You don't want to show your cards all at once, but I'm not afraid to say things that I was afraid to say initially when I was dating.
Do you find now that among the population that is in a second or a third relationship, or they're out dating, they're a little more mature, that are out in the dating scene, do they still have a problem comparing new people that they meet to the old people in their lives?
You'd probably have to ask them. So you know what?
Well, then, all right, I'm asking you.
A person who's comparing, I'm going to say, and I'm not a doctor, and I don't pretend to be a doctor. I'm just a girl who dates. Okay?
But you're a practical practitioner.
I am practical.
But do you at any time now, like you said, you got over this past relationship, when you go out and you meet a guy and you date a guy, do you at all in your head say, he's not like my husband, or he's not like my previous guy, or you can look at this person and see them on a completely new level?
I can see them on a completely new level, but I can tell you, I do like the finer things, not gonna lie, right? So I definitely want someone who dresses nice, who knows how to present. I definitely do want someone who knows when you go out how to present in public. It's really hard. You and I discussed, I moved back to the Northeast. I had lived in Florida for nearly 20 years. I moved back here to go to help my mom, who has since passed. So when I returned to the Northeast and I was raised here, guys who I had known in high school and college who are now single, whether they're widowed or divorced, have reached out to me. And it's surprising, when 35 years or 40 years have passed, depending if I knew them in high school or college. It's interesting to see what they moved into. I always think, oh God, look what she moved into.
Yeah. And it is interesting. It's such a fascinating subject. I'm wondering, because you are writing from the standpoint of a woman's point of view, how men are approaching this dating scene, and I'm curious as to a little bit about how you find, are men accepting this new dating scene? Are they also willing to sit down and just have a nice conversation with you, and the mind is not running along to the second date or the third date? Are you finding that there are a good percentage of the men that are reacting that way, or do they still have a lot to learn about getting to that point?
I can only speak to my experience, right? So some men are open to change, and change can be uncomfortable, right?
Sure.
Right. They are, and for some reason, some men, everyone's different. I have found that some men think a wardrobe overhaul is going to change who they are. No, that just changes the clothes in
Could
your
be a
closet.
facade. Yeah.
Well, but it just changes the clothes in your closet. So that's just one fraction of the whole. Have you healed from whatever past that has hurt you? Are you better? I mean, can you talk about things without getting choked up? Do you show signs of anger when you talk about the past? Obviously there's going to be some point where you have to talk about things. For a long time, I could not have a conversation with anyone, whether it was my girlfriends, guy friends, or a date, about my relationship ending with my fiance. I could not discuss it without getting teary. It hurt me to the core, right? And I knew I wasn't really ready to date.
Right.
Did that stop me? No, but I really, if I asked myself, are you really ready? Which was fine. I mean, I just wanted to date. And I just said that when I was out. I said, I'm just dating. I'm not ready to get into anything. But I didn't tell my dates like, oh my God, I'm so wounded. Do you know what he did? Blah, blah. I never, ever said that. I just said, I'm just dating. I'm not ready to get into anything heavy. Right? So that's fair. Right? But when you can start talking about things and not be so emotional about them, and it doesn't evoke tears or quivering lips or, right, or a rampage or a drinking binge, whatever it is, right? Then you're good. When you're good, you're good. And then you can, honestly, for men, if they know they're good and they know they're ready, but they just really don't know how to approach dating in the new normal, buy my book. It's full of great directives about, where to shop, how to shop, who you can ask. I mean, if you have girl buddies or girl relatives who are your buddies. They can help you.
Right.
It's not easy. I had a phone conversation with the guy buddy the other day, and he said that he found when he's on, he's in a very nice relationship now and has been for a couple of years. But before, when he was dating and he was on the online dating, he felt like he was auditioning. I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I'm auditioning too, or I guess it's a man thing. They always want, it's like they're asking you about your resume. Come on, you can think of better conversation than that. And that would go back to your online dating profile. Find something in there that's interesting that maybe you have in common or that you don't have in common that you want to ask about. But yeah, it's not easy. And especially in the demographic that I'm targeting, which is boomers and Gen Xers, it's not easy, right? To date, it's not. And for that particular demographic,
it's a new learned experience.
Yeah, most of my friends, I went out on a power walk with a girlfriend of mine last weekend, and she said, I haven't had a date in 30 years. She's been married, all that. And I said, you're so lucky. She's like, I wouldn't even know what to do. I'm like, you could read my book, and that's another thing. Honestly, this is a book for men, but so many women have read it. And I see on Amazon.com, when I go and check my book reviews, women are reading this and they are leaving the greatest reviews. And I have to thank people for that, because I don't know some of these people who, I'm not going to lie, some of my friends, I can see their names on the review and I thank them as well. But for people I don't know, and especially women who are buying this book, thank you. Thank you, because they can learn from it as well. I mean, I'm not going to lie.
They can learn what to see and what to foresee in the relationships that they're now trying to cultivate.
And maybe some safety tips too, because let's face it, there's creeps in the world who ruin things for everybody. And I always use this guy as the classic example, but the shoe bomber from like 20 years ago, right? Since then, we all have to take our shoes off in an airport. That is so gross. I don't want to take my shoes off in it, but I have to, and I do it. I don't complain, but so there's always one creep who's going to be out there. So safety is an issue, and it's not just an issue for women. It's an issue for men. If you've ever watched that movie starring Jennifer Lopez called Hustlers, where they roofie the men, and that's a true story. Those girls were really doing it. So safety's an issue.
Yeah.
Yep.
I want to go back to something that you mentioned earlier about misrepresentation. You said something about when a guy is getting ready to get back into the dating scene or something, clean up your act, get some clothing that's from this century. And you said maybe drop a few pounds or something. If the guy is carrying some extra weight and all, then I think it's safe to say, don't misrepresent yourself. Just say, look, I'm a really nice guy. I've got a nice career. I enjoy these kinds of hobbies. I do carry a few extra pounds and all, but I'm willing to do anything to try and drop them. But if I don't, I'm still me. And this is my open book.
That is so refreshing. And I actually have a few chapters on that, and many chapters. And throughout the book, there's a constant theme of authenticity. Let me tell you, first of all, right now, as we're coming off of the pandemic, it's almost acceptable to carry a few extra, right? I mean, we've been locked up for a long time. And, sedentary lifestyle was huge during pandemic. So also on the other hand, I've seen people who worked out so hard. Now they look like statues. They're like Adonis. I'm like, oh my God. So there's all different situations. So, in that specific scenario, when you're on an online dating site, there are boxes you can check in your basic profile, because it asks you your regional location. It asks you if you're male or female, what you're looking for, a male or female. It also asks you your body type. That's one of the boxes to check. It's okay to check that box. The box actually says something like a few extra pounds. I mean, because you can check a box that says slender, athletic,
sedentary.
I don't think sedentary's on there yet, but it's probably coming. But yeah,
that's the box that says other.
Yeah. So I just say be real, because, women have had that same experience during COVID. They've had exactly staying at home, eating the wrong foods, eating in your downtime. And Lord knows we had a lot of downtime during COVID. So, and I recommend this in my book too, maybe a good first date if you guys aren't really comfortable in the bodies that you're in right now. And for safety, maybe you'll meet at a park, right? A public park in broad daylight where there's lots of people, and walk and talk. That's not a bad first date, right? And you can I have to tell you, oh my gosh, and this is years ago. This was fairly I think it was after the breakup with my fiance. I met a guy for pizza and beer, and it was like a happy hour date, right? I just thank God it was just a happy hour date. So, and it was down in Florida, and I got to the pizzeria before my date did. And I had a young kid. It was a boy. He was only 16. And he asked me to place my order. I said, no, I'm waiting on a date. So that would be rude. I'll wait till he gets here to order. And he goes, well, I think your date is coming. And I said, what? And he points, and I look over my shoulder, and there's this overweight man walking briskly and waving like crazy. I was like, oh my God. And then my head snapped, and I looked at the kid. I go, quick, get me a Miller Lite draft and a slice of plain. I said, hurry up. So he runs and gets it. So by the time my date sat down, the kid was already coming back with the Miller Lite and the slice of pizza. And I'm not kidding. I was using my beer and my food as props, kind of trying to hide behind my beer and my food because I was so taken back. I thought the guy looked like a young Nicolas Cage. But when he was on my date with him, and I even looked on his LinkedIn profile, he uses that same picture. Very good looking man. He showed up. He was easily 50 heavier. And I don't think that's fair. That's not what I was expecting.
And he didn't look like Nicolas Cage?
Well, he looked like the guy who ate Nicolas Cage. So, yeah, think about Liz Taylor. Did you ever see pictures of Liz when she was so young and beautiful? And then she went through that phase where she was just a mess and she put on a lot of weight and she just didn't even look like herself, and then
Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? She had that persona.
Yeah, but I mean, when she was not healthy, when she started doing, when she had substance abuse issues that led her to go into, she put on a lot of weight. I remember seeing a picture of her in People magazine, this is probably 30 or 40 years ago. And someone from the paparazzi snapped a picture of her getting out of a limo. I'll never forget. First of all, I didn't even recognize who it was getting out of the limo. She looked no, I didn't. She looked like a bullfrog. She looked so bad. I mean, weight can do that to you, right? But then she got her poop in a group and she went to rehab. And then again, she made another comeback and she looked beautiful. Older, of course, but still very beautiful. So yeah, weight can really distort you, as you well know. I mean, we all know that weight can distort your appearance. But so having said that, it's really not authentic to post a picture of yourself when you looked great when you were 30, because newsflash, you're not 30 anymore.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a key word, that authenticism, is that present yourself as who you are today, because the person that you're meeting wants to share you that way. And if there is going to be any future, you want the future to be based on that, not on a perceived, yesterday.
I was on a radio talk show last week, and the female interviewer said, well, why would someone do that? And believe me, I've been thinking that for years. Why would someone, and the best that I can think is that either they think they look the same.
Yep.
Like when they look in the mirror, they don't realize that 30 years has passed. Frankly, when I look in the mirror, I see 30 years have passed. I'm like,
the outward person doesn't match the inward person.
Well, maybe they just don't know that they've changed. I don't know. Or maybe they think you're not going to notice. I don't know which one it is. I can tell you the pictures on my profile are current. And when I write a profile and I put it out there, I even say, all my pictures are current. They were taken within the last 2 years. I expect the same from you. If we meet and your pictures are not, if it turns out that you're not being authentic, we're going to have a problem. Because like I said, I used to hide behind my beer and pizza. I used to be polite and go into the bathroom, make other plans, and then come and excuse myself. I'm done with that. I'm so real now. I had a date during a few months ago, and the guy said that he was in his 60s. I forget what he said, but I knew he said he was in his 60s, and it must have been okay with me, not too far from my age, because I like people about my same age. And when I met him, he was well into his 70s, and I called him out on it right away, and I wasn't mean. I just said, I was laughing. I just said, so what's your real age? Right? I mean, I was kind of letting him off the hook, and he didn't answer me.
But that's the wrong first impression.
He looked at me out of the corner of his eye. I thought, listen, if looks could kill, I'd be dead. He was so mad that I called him out on it. And he never said his true age. So after that date, I went home and Googled him. Yeah, I found out his true. It's not that hard to find.
Right.
He was well into his 70s.
Well, guys, listen, what you need to do is, and you said even girls, the book is What Men Don't Know About Dating Is a Lot. And if you got questions or something, you can email Noel, nwbenson@yahoo.com. Reach out to her with questions. Noel, thanks for taking the time to be with me today. It was really fun talking about this passion that you have for making sure people are who they say they are as they go forward in life.
Yeah, don't you think that would just be a gimme?
That would be. Well, folks, thanks again for spending some time with Noel and myself today on Someone You Should Know. I hope we'll see you again next week. And as I always say, be yourself, because everyone else is taken. So
Stuart,
go out there and make it a good one. Bye.
Thank you, Stuart. Bye-bye.